Carolyn Doobie here. What's the play for today? Well, today I'm going to be making an art journal page, and in that page you are going to see my incredibly scientific method for how to make a decision. Hint, there's no science involved, just an oops. Well, I grabbed an art journal page, a background that I started, who knows one, that quite frankly is kind of in my opinion. So I'm going to use up some of this leftover paint that I have here over on my palette, and I'm going to put some pattern on here using washi tapes. Now, I love washi tapes, and I hoard them. I love them so much, I don't always want to use them. And this time I decided I'm going to use them. So I randomly grabbed several of my tapes, and by golly, I'm just going to put them on here. Now, that inner part of me that likes to hoard my washi tapes, because apparently I'm afraid we're going to run out of them in the world and I'm never going to find them again, which really isn't true, seeing as how you can find washi tape at the office supply store now. But anyway, so this part of me that's freaking out is also facing the reality that this is one of the early layers in an art journal page. So this is part of the background. So I just might end up covering up some of those patterns. Now, the colors that I'm using, because they're leftovers from another project, they don't really coordinate with the washi tape, which I have to admit is kind of irritating that inner hoarder in me that's kind of thinking I should treat those washi tapes with a little more respect. Now, part of the stuff that was on the page when I started, those little black squares up there, that is actually on old address labels, and they're not sticking very well. And I think that's a great opportunity because it allows me to paint underneath it, and then I can just put the label back down flat, and it'll look like I painted really carefully around it, when we all know Carolyn does not paint carefully around things. Well, now that I've used up just about all of that leftover paint, now I want to think about what else to add to it, and I think I want to add a big face on this page. Now, the stencil that I'm going to use to put the face on, this was designed by Andrea Demang, and it's her Goddess of Rain stencil. Now, to me, when I'm done, I'm actually going to call her Olivia Newton-John, and you'll see why when I lift up the stencil. So I've got some black paint there, and I'm just putting a little bit on the cosmetic sponge, and if I go in an up and down motion, it's going to give me a crisper look. I'm also making sure that I hold my stencil down nice and flat if I want a crisp look. And another thing to help you get a crisp look is to use either a small amount of paint on the cosmetic sponge, make sure you dab it off really well, or to use a very thick paint like a heavy body paint. So why am I calling her Olivia Newton-John? Well, that's because one of those little labels that were on the page, it's right along her forehead. And every time I look at her, I just so see that headband, and it is flashing me back to the early 80s and the Let's Get Physical and all of that stuff. So that's why she's Olivia Newton-John to me. Well, next thing I want to do is put some words on her. And I grabbed my uplifting word stencil that I created for over at StencilGirl Products, and there are all sorts of words on there. So how do I pick the word to start with, or what words do I want to use? Well, the first thing I look at is what jumps out at me. And the word vulnerable just jumped out at me as something to match this page. So I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to start with what I know and then go from there. So as I'm stenciling her on there, I'm using the same paint and cosmetic sponge that I stenciled her with. I'm going to do that on the washi tape. And I'll give you a little hint here with washi tape. Paint does not stick as well to it as you might want it to. So anywhere that it looks like it's sort of lighter, that there's not much paint there, that's because there isn't as much paint there. The paint doesn't stick as well to washi tape as it does to, say, paper. So after seeing that one word, all of a sudden the next word kind of popped out at me, and that was the word be. That way I could make this say, be vulnerable. But there's going to be an oops here. Notice how I got some paint above the be? Well, all I'm going to do is take a baby wipe, a paper towel, a Kleenex, something, and wipe it right off. Because that's kind of one of those perks of washi tape and paint not sticking very well to it, is that you can wipe wet paint off of it pretty darn easily. So now what do I do for the other words? I know I want more words on here, but I'm like, well, do I want this? Do I want that? And I basically start overthinking it. And when I get to that point of overthinking it, I'm like, just pick one. Just pick a word and put it down. What's the worst thing that happens? I pick the wrong word. Well, guess what that's going to be? That's simply going to be an oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. I would rather make a mistake, make an oops, than just be stuck sitting there thinking and not doing anything. So I picked the word strong, and now I want another word over there, and I'm starting to get in my head again. I can feel it, so I'm like, okay, you're just going to have to pick a word and go. And I kind of have to be a little forceful with myself if I find myself thinking too much, because you know what? just because I'm covering up the washi tape, and yes, that part of me, that inner washi tape hoarder, is kind of freaking out that I'm covering it up, that I've just got to tell that part to get over it, and I just need to pick a word and put it on there. So oddly enough, the word calm all of a sudden started coming to me, because that's really what that washi tape hoarder needs to do, is just calm down. Nice thing about a stencil is if you don't get it stenciled all completely, you can always put the stencil right back on top of it. And then the last word, that one jumped out at me, was definitely not in my head for that one, and that is the word fearless. So as I stencil that on there, I'm thinking, great, I've made all these choices, I've got them filled in, this is awesome. And when I lift that up, I go, oops, because the words don't stand out the way that I wanted them to. So yep, it's an opportunity. I'm not sure what that opportunity is yet, so I am simply going to start playing around with some paints and moving stuff around, and at some point, the opportunity will present itself to me. So I'm playing on some white paint here, and I put a little on, wipe a little off with a baby wipe, and yeah, I'm really appreciative of baby wipes right now. They just do so much for me. And next thing I want to do is put some color on it. Big, bright, bold color. She doesn't have enough bright color, so that's where I'm going to use the gelatos, which to me is kind of like when you were a kid, you know, when you take your mom's lipstick and write with it and get in a whole lot of trouble for using it. This is what it reminds me of. It just feels like playing around with lipstick. Now, while I was doing that, I totally realized what I needed to do. And oh, buddy, this is not going to make that washi tape hoarder inside of me happy at all. Because what I'm going to need to do is completely just cover that up. I need it to stand out more, so I'm just going to white out part of it and then re-stencil it. Now, my inner washi tape hoarder, yeah, that part of me was just having a freak out at this point. And to meet it in the middle, I decided what I would do is just take a baby wipe and wipe off some of the paint. Now, not all of it, but you can still, now you can see some of the pattern, but I've still got the white. So a nice middle ground to make both parts of me happy. Well, now I'm just going to re-stencil those words right on there. Very easy to see where they're supposed to go. After all, I'd already stenciled them once. I can see a little bit of the outline of them, so I'm going to line it back on that, and then just put that black paint right on top of it. And I realized as I was doing the word strong, as I was adding that on there, that you know what? I think I was going to change the second word. Instead of doing the word calm, I decided I wanted a different word there, so I decided to go with the word open. Because that was the one that was calling to me then, that's the one that felt like it fit there, and then fearless went right back on the bottom. But I gotta tell you, here comes an oops. Because once I looked at that, I realized I don't want strong and open there. I want something else there. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to wipe it off with a baby wipe. Really, again, nice benefit of working on washi tape is it's pretty good at releasing the paint from it. And I'm going to clean up a little bit of my fearless and that kind of stuff because things got a little messy over there. Beauty of a Q-tip dipped in water can do all sorts of magic. Now I need to put some of the white back on top of that area. And of course, is it going to match perfectly with everything else? Nah. But that's what, does anything on this page match? And so then I'm just going to do my best to buff it, make it blend in so it looks like it was the other stuff. And then I'm going to put the word that I really want there. And that is the word be. So I want be vulnerable and be fearless. So you can see how I came about to getting to these words was not exactly a scientific process of a clear-cut line. It was more like make an oops, then make another oops, then make another oops, and keep making them until you like what you've got. So a little bit of oil pastel scribble journaling is going to wrap up this page for me. Now, if you've been enjoying the play, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I have a new video out. And of course, if you know of somebody that you think would enjoy this, I'd so appreciate it if you shared it with them. Now, even though the video's coming to an end, it doesn't mean the play has to come to an end. You can head on over to the blog at acolorfuljourney.com where I've got all sorts of things, including a newsletter with a free download and video, as well as a free workshop called Permission to Play. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.